Hey, what's up, guys? So today I have for you the best business you can start in 2024. And no, this is not coming from some 18-year-old selling overpriced Chinese products like a douchebag on Amazon or drop shipping on Shopify, or someone that made 10K a month for 1 month and all of a sudden thinks they're a fucking business expert. Yo, I cannot believe it. I swear to God, everywhere you go on YouTube, you see these kids, and that's exactly what they are, children in rented Lambos talking about online businesses. But yo, what about real life businesses? Yeah, I myself, as an owner, a partner, an executive, or a consultant, has scaled these real life businesses to multiple seven figures over a very long career and have results in the real world with things people can actually feel and see. And even this real life business, it's something I've managed to escape the 9 to 5 and move online and really work from my laptop in Puerto Rico. And today I'm putting an end to all these fucking online gurus still lying to you about what's possible. And I'm going to show you this real world business model for free. So let's dive in. So that real life business, that brick and mortar business that I'm running here in Puerto Rico, back on the mainland, it's called residential general contracting, specifically high-end remodeling, with a twist. And I have three reasons why I left a mid six figures job in venture capital, on the track to managing partner and just crazy amounts of money. Why I left all that behind to pick up a hard hat and a set of plans. And so the first reason, guys, is demographics. You're not going to find a more favorable industry. How I found this out was back as a venture capitalist, I was a partner in a venture capital firm in the Midwest. And as I was studying deal flow, I realized we're absolutely insane. The valuations were stretched. The entrepreneurs were suspect. I found, I really hope these guys aren't seeing this video. I'm not going to name names, but it just seemed really silly to me how hard we were competing to invest in these deals. It felt like the Dutch tulip mania, or maybe the mania just before the stock market crash of 1929. I mean, granted, I never experienced those things firsthand, but just the absolute suspension of logic. And so I started digging, looking at other vehicles, thinking the grass was greener. And for once in my life, it actually was. So in residential general contracting, in contracting as a whole, think of it as like Wall Street money for blue collar guys, right? So up until recently, the absolute best of the best, most competitive students in college would either end up in medicine or law or investment banking or consulting, basically finance, consulting, law, or medicine, right? But the thing is, the guys that are involved in commercial construction make just as much money as any Wall Street, director level or above position, without nearly the competition. But then I was like, commercial construction is hard because you're dealing with 8-9 figure projects and 5 to 6% profit margins. There is no room for error. And if you screw up, that's the kind of money that people are willing to go to court, maybe do something worse to you over. So I was like, I don't have the technical skill to get into commercial construction. Let's look at residential. And so as I was looking in residential, I saw an interesting stat that for every 5 guys retired, there was only 2 guys replacing them. And you marry that up with another stat that the average age of an owner in residential general contracting or remodeling, which includes home building, remodeling, all that jazz, he's 62 years old. The ones that are doing 2 million or more that are actually worth buying. And so when 5 of them are retiring and only replaced by 2, that means 3 of them are just going to shut down and disappear forever. And if they're just going to shut down and disappear forever, that means there's no market for them, which means they can be bought for pennies on the dollar. So that's what caused me one day to walk into the boardroom of my firm and just be like, quit. My wife, when she learned of this decision, she's like, "What are you going to go do?" And I said, "I'm going to take my buyout and I'm going to start a general contractor." And she said, "Lane, you don't know how to read plans." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm smarter than the average bear. I'll just figure it out." Like, so fucking arrogant of me. And famous last words. Granted, it was an epic 2-year run that led me to the steps of the courthouse thinking I was going to file bankruptcy, which I didn't, thank God. But during that time, I built 5 separate remodelers, all between 1.5 and 2 million in sales in markets 500 miles apart or more from each other: KC, Dallas, Austin, Denver, Panama City, and even gotten a little bit of commercial, gotten a little bit of general government, general contracting. And I kept thinking to myself, I need to sell more. I need to sell more. I need to sell more to get over the hump. I was like, I'm just, yeah, because in venture capital, we always talk about Death Valley. And that's when you're absolutely burning cash and you haven't got product market fit, and you don't know who your customer is, how you sell them, at what point, at what price point, with what product. That's product market fit. It applies to all business. And so I was caught in Death Valley, without having proved a single customer category, with a single product category, with a single pricing strategy. And I kept just adding more and more and more instead of solving the fucking problem, which was an operations problem that I needed to tighten up my estimating so that I could tighten up my project management. And at the same time, I also thought being a general contractor meant I actually was the one to build these things. When you look at every successful 8-figure and above general contractor, residential or commercial, they all have one thing in common. And that one thing in common is they subcontract the trades, like framing, carpentry, finished carpentry, cabinetry, tile, drywall, paint, flooring, electrical, all that stuff. Those are trades. And they subcontract those trades. And the reason why they do that is to control risk, so they don't end up like Lane in 2016. Right. So something you guys can do for yourself to get started here. If you don't believe me, just look it up. Google average age of a business owner doing more than 2 million. Google construction, 5 guys retired, replaced by 2. Just research the demographics of the market. You'll see what I'm saying. And if that point you see the opportunity I see, and you want to pursue this further, before you take another step, I would go get 3 books. Right? They're kind of esoteric. Number 1, it's the visual handbook of building and remodeling. This will think of this as your Bible. It's going to help you understand. It's an old one from the 90s by Charlie Wing. It'll help you understand how buildings are actually built. Not that you're going to be doing any project management if you don't already know how to do this. The second one is Gordian's Contractor Pricing Guide. Get the latest one. This is 2023 with RS Means data. And the third one by Nick Ganaway is Construction Business Management, right? And these 3 books, I swear, are going to give you 80% of what you need to be successful in this business. You don't need a guru. You don't need YouTube. You just really need 3 really good books. So the second reason I enjoy this business is the scalability. I love that our industry is so hyper fractionalized. Look across the nation. Is there a single nationwide brand for luxury design building or luxury remodeling? There isn't. They're all hyper local. And the reason why is because Wall Street hasn't figured out how to roll up this business, because quite frankly, it's probably one of the most complex business models if you're doing it wrong. All right. So it would take somebody with a financial education, a prim and proper Wall Streeter, to be crazy enough to jump into blue collar, to learn that industry as well, to figure out how to roll up this industry, or at least to figure out how to have a nationwide brand without physically being on every fucking job site every day. And that challenge is why I love this business. And so, just again, take a look around. You're not going to find these enormous companies. Most luxury design builders top out around 20 million in a single city. Yeah. So why is that important for you? The thing is, I like going into markets where, I like opportunity where it's a blue ocean, right? It's not swimming full of sharks in a sea of blood. And so because it's so hyper fractionalized, because 96% of remodelers or residential general contractors will never get bigger than 10 million, because 96% of them fail every 10 years, that is just pure unadulterated opportunity. So I realized this one day as Chief Operating Officer of CQC Home. At that time, we had just finished a campaign going from 7.9 million to 12 million in 6 months, and we turned around a $250,000 operating loss to netting about 1.2 after taxes. It was a fucking amazing turnaround. But I was looking around trying to find other peer companies, and I noticed that all of our peer level companies in the 8-figure band, between 10 and 20 million, were, they were all in a metro of 500,000 people or more. And there's usually one, maybe two of them in the city. And I don't know why I was looking. I was just looking to find inspiration of what other guys are doing in other markets, and I thought that was really interesting. And I was like, well, so if you have the chops to build a $10-20 million company representing 20-30% of your market, why is it that there isn't a national level brand? And it took me forever to chew through that, until I realized it was in their operational model. So that brings me to, if you're going to get into this business to build a big business, a couple things. We got to go into this with the right model that will allow itself to scale. And the most scalable model I have ever discovered is pairing a luxury design build general contractor that specializes in things like additions and ADUs. Those need to be your bread and butter. Why? Because it's too structurally complex for the custom home builders to want to mess with, and it's too big of a job for the homeowner to trust Chuck in the truck, or Illegal Isidro, or Meth Mouth Mike, or Average Andy, right? So that's such a perfect little seam to land and expand your brand. That's a cool phrase. And so once, that's phase one. Phase two is to go up and down market, right? So go up market into custom homes, but immediately before you go into custom homes, I would set up a home improvement brand that does everything from handyman level stuff of fixing a faucet for a 2-hour minimum at $290, all the way to doing a simple lipstick remodel where there's nothing structural. We're just pulling and replacing on a kitchen for, like, I don't know, 60, 70 grand, right? So by having those two brands, you're able to service and compete for the for the customer's entire wallet share of their home improvement budget. It's crazy. And at the same time, your handyman home improvement brand will provide the punch list crew to your design build brand. And that brings me to the design build model. And this is something that I invented at CQC to solve a lot of our issues. And that was, we don't have sales guys anymore. We don't. We have project directors. And a project director manages the client from the first phone call all the way to collecting the final check, right? So we have a saying: talkers talk, builders build, counters count. And the reason why all of those peer companies were never really able to expand into other geographic markets was because their business models are set up wrong. They're running sales guys who are compensated as a percentage of revenue. Some are a percentage of gross profit. But either way, they can just lie to themselves about the estimated gross profit because they don't know how to build. So without that accountability, it's just human nature. These guys are going to thinly sell contracts because they just want to get a commission, right? And yeah, so then that creates a nightmare for the design phase, because those guys, they have the sales guys just promised a Cadillac on a Hyundai budget, so they do the best they can, and you end up with a sloppy, incomplete, inaccurate design, and also an estimate that is well intentioned, but I would argue full of holes like Swiss cheese. And then that arrives to the build staff, who then have to like all that shit rolls downhill to the build guys, who then have to build a project with unrealistic expectations from the homeowner and an incomplete, inaccurate, insufficient design with a poor estimate. And that is the number one reason why 70% of remodels go over budget by 20% or more. So it starts by making the sales guy responsible for the relationship all the way to final payment collection. So they're the one dealing with the pain of the pissed off customer and the unrealistic expectations. And so they're no longer tempted to promise the world, promise a Cadillac on a Hyundai budget, or a Rolls Royce even. But yeah, so that's part one. Part two is the design staff. I don't know who started this idea in the industry, but for some reason, guys think that to be a design build company, you have to have an in-house designer. But I got news for you: until you get to 10 million, you don't have enough gross profit to attract and hire an A+ level design talent away from the alternative, which is working for themselves, because there is no barrier to entry for them working for themselves. And again, until you get to 10 million, you're not going to be able to pay them enough to get them to want to come work for you instead of work for themselves. Make sense? And so why on earth would you create a cost center in your company when you're not even getting A-level talent, when you can just subcontract that and it's no longer dragging on profit because it's part of your cost of goods sold? And so if I was to build a nationwide brand, number one, I wouldn't have sales guys. I would have project directors. Number two, my design staff would all be 1099. And here's a hidden reason why. Because you're going to do your own marketing. You're going to get your own business. We lose the opportunity of building a referral relationship with an outside designer if we do that design in-house. I would much rather pay a little bit more, pass it to the customer, and use that A+ level talent that works for themselves. Because imagine you're a designer and you have contractor A and you have contractor B. Contractor A comes to you with a project asking you to joint venture with him on the design portion. Contractor B comes to you and says, I've been in business 30 years. I have the best quality in town. Send me some business. Who do you think the designer is going to be more motivated to refer business to contractor A. It's just human nature, it's business. So that's another reason why I don't like having design in-house, is you lose that referral source. And every referral source you lose, your cost per contract for advertising goes up. So that's number two if I was to build a nationwide brand. Number three is with project managers. Most project managers are paid some version of bonus or salary, but there's no rhyme or reason to the bonus or salary. So first off, with that project manager, I would put him on salary instead of hourly, so he's no longer motivated to milk the clock. I would give him a KPI in order to keep his salary. And that KPI would basically be, I would line out all of his all 19 inspections, actually 21 if you're building a new structure, because you got to include foundation and concrete. So 21 phase inspections and a daily job log and twice a week pictures. And anytime he missed a task, that would be a demerit. And if he got more than 8 demerits in a quarter, he would lose his job. So that's one thing I would do to force compliance with process. The second thing I would do is I would make sure that these guys are being paid more than market. So in other words, salary would range between 50% and top of market, depending on experience, and then have a bonus. I like to pay my my project managers 2% of the contract when that project is delivered above the green line. The green line is the amount of gross profit after final job cost that guarantees that ownership nets 10% after taxes and after paying themselves their salary. So at CQC, that number was 37%. For a lot of y'all, it may be different. Every company is set up differently. So just figure out what your green line is. And so then what happened was our project managers, once they understood that they were being guaranteed top of market pay, and then with their bonus, that was another 25 to 50% above that, these guys just became animals, absolute animals. They were, they would go out of their way to make sure that they were only going to Home Depot once per trade phase. Saved a lot of time, saved a lot of money. They were making sure that all material, that all waste material was salvaged and turned back into the lumberyard. Again, saving money. They were making sure that the subcontractors were completing their subcontracts like by their deadline, or they were getting penalized. Again, saving time, saving money, and time is money. Fourth thing I would do is I would, every single role in your company, even your receptionist, 2 KPIs. First KPI to keep their job. Second KPI governs their bonus, and that KPI is based on a task that employee 100% controls, that we can 100% extrapolate to the production of gross profit. It is possible with a receptionist. And this is the only way I've found to turn creative types and administrative types into meat eating, profit carnivores, right? And so if we really wanted to update the saying, it would be talkers talk, designers draw, builders build, counters count, right? So, but we can turn them all into profit carnivores that think like business owners with those 2 KPIs and a smart bonus structure. So reason 3, I love this business because it tangentially, like it is the foundation of my favorite investment class, which is real estate. Only in real estate do you get an asset that grows in excess of inflation commensurate to population growth. Only in real estate do we get an asset that has like basically guaranteed appreciation if you buy it right, and you get income. And it's the only asset I found where I can safely lever up 4-to-1, right? You put 20% down, you get 80% for a mortgage, which then 4x returns your cash on cash return. Now this gets even fucking juicier when you own the contractor in the market that you're specializing in real estate. Okay. So my gosh. Yeah, for example, in the 100K design challenge that I'm about to do, January 22nd, I'm going to be given $100 a truck and a surprise city. And my mission is to go build a $1 million contractor in 90 days, or I make a $100,000 contribution to Operation Underground Railroad to fight the trafficking of children. And if I win, 10% of the company I build also gets pledged to OUR, so they win either way. But once the challenge is over, one primary strategy, I'm going to continue on with the docu-series, expanding past a $1 million company to get over Death Valley. And once we're over Death Valley, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up now. A luxury design build firm is not going to work in a investment market like Toledo. And the only reason why I say that is, so I was at the pool at, I think it was the Marriott downtown in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Just watching the kid enjoy the water slide, chatting up this realtor in Toledo who controlled like 70% of their investment market. And he was like, yeah, Lane, he's like, you should really set up one of your design build contractors in our market. We can't find anybody to do the work. And I said to him, I was like, that sounds great. I'm afraid I'm too expensive for y'all. And he's like, well, what does a kitchen start at for you? And I said, about 150,000. And he said, Lane, you can buy 2 rental properties in Toledo for that. And I said, right. Brings you back to my first statement. I think I'm too expensive for you. And he's like, well, shit, we have a huge problem. Like, I have a property management company and we have at least a backlog of 6 months worth of maintenance tickets. How the hell are we going to solve this problem? I was like, I don't know, import the labor. And then that's when the light bulb went on. I was like, ding. Sure. The luxury design build and handyman stack is not going to work in every market. You're going to need a substantial, luxury market of white collar professionals that have more money than time and more or brains. And and you also need and it's even better when you have a big professional population with a real estate market where to buy a new house affordably, you have to drive an hour outside town. Those are the best remodel markets. Oh my gosh. So not every market fits that bill. There's only about 200 across America that do. So if I was in a market like Toledo, where you can buy a rental property for 80 grand and then turn around and rent it for $1,600 a month, getting 2% per month return, that's 24%. And we haven't even levered this up yet, right? We go to the bank, we get a loan, we're now getting 100% return cash on cash. What I would do in a market like that, and what I'm going to do, which you're going to see towards the end of the challenge, is whatever city I'm dropped in, I'm going to go to I'm going to fly to a market like Toledo, and I'm going to set up a handyman business that doubles as a property manager, which in some states you got to get a real estate broker's license. But anytime there's licensing, guys, let me give you a tip. Anytime there's a license preventing you from doing something you want to do, what I want you to do is to compile a list of everybody who already has that license, that qualifying license. I want you to email them a nuclear offer to partner with you, right? Don't let licensing get in the way. Plus, they'll have more technical knowledge about the business than you. Just take on the partner, right? And then buy them out later if you really want to. So what I'll probably end up doing is emailing my buddy who already has a property management company and explaining this is what I'm going to do, basically join or die. And he'll play ball. But yeah, so set up a handyman home improvement business to service the middle class remodel needs of Toledo, attach and use the same workforce to provide the maintenance of property management. And then meanwhile, I'm going to arbitrage, right, my luxury design build firm that's doing $270,000 plus additions, that's doing $100,000 plus kitchens. The profit off those is obscene. Basically, every time we do an addition, I can go buy a rental property in Toledo where I already have boots on the ground to number one, find the property, repair it, and rent it, right? You got to think synergistically about what we're doing here. But getting back to why I love this business is because maybe you don't want to go that psycho, but what I love about contracting is it is the easiest way to get into the real estate game when you don't have cash. Hey, so I lied. That last reason's good, but the real number one reason I love this business is because name me a business where with less than 10 grand in startup cash, we can turn 400K at a 40% gross margin. And then from there, hire the talent to actually execute the business and then do 3 more turns in a year. And so this is what I mean. All right. I am the world's worst builder. I'm barely qualified to hang a picture frame. And I learned this strategy out of necessity after my flirting with bankruptcy court. And that was, number one, I needed to subcontract my trades. Number two, I needed a project manager to manage the build that knew what he was doing. And number three, I needed enough profit to pay for everybody at top of market rates. And so my solution to that, guys, was I went out, I devised a funnel where, for every 3 leads that came in, I was closing, I was setting an appointment. And every 3 appointments that came in, I was closing a deal. And I was doing that within 30 days. And what we were doing is we were selling a design agreement, right? A design contract to go actually design the damn project at about 8% of the projected build value. And then I would turn around and subcontract that to a designer, locking in a 25% to 50% gross margin. Let's just say 25%. And then 3 months later, when those designs are ready to leave build, I was smart enough to adjust my contracts and my draw schedules. So I was collecting 26% at signing and another 19%, 29%. Yeah, 19%. I'm sorry, 25%. Yeah, 25% at the start of demo. Right. So what that means, and we were selling our jobs at a 40% gross profit. And so what this means is we are collecting about half the job before demo starts on these enormous 6-figure projects. And our gross profit position on that was 40%. So let's play this out. So my cost per lead is a lot different than everybody, just because I also have a background in marketing. We'll talk about that later. And so I was paying about $50. That was kind of expensive for me. About $50 for an addition lead, right? Additions for me would start at about 270,000. And so 8% of that would be 8 times 27, call it $18,000. Okay. In fact, you know what? Let me pull up my freaking calculator here because my OCD is going crazy. So 270,000 times 0.08, 21.6. Right. So 21.6. And of that 21.6, I would structure that as a retainer, billing at 200 an hour compared to an architect at 300 plus, and paying a really good, like, all-star minor celebrity designer $150 an hour. Okay, so 50 divides into 200 4 times. So that's a 25% margin. So I was already collecting $5,400. Okay. Remember, it was taking me 9 leads times $50 each to win that deal. So I was flipping $450 into $5,400 before the fucking credit card bill was due. Right? This is, I mean, that alone's a crazy good business model. And then what I would do is, while that would go to design, I would turn around and put that 5,400 back into my marketing and never have to. And like at that point, my problem is not getting business. My problem is doing it. But bear with me. So for every $450, that would turn 5,400 for a $270,000 project. But what I need is I really want 3 of these projects coming out of design at the exact same time. That's an $810,000 cohort, right? What would that cost me to turn? $450. Why? Because out of that $5,400 I got back from the first design agreement, I took $900, put it back into the marketing. Makes sense, right? So let's just talk about the build for a second. Like the way I like to manage my finances is the gross profit off design just goes right back into marketing, sales commissions and marketing, so that we're growing free. And so off that 810,000, we collected 51%. That's $413,100. And of that, 40% is gross profit, meaning I've paid for the material and I've paid for the trades. Okay. That means I have $165,240 of profit to run the business. And when your average, like really good construction manager starts at 100 grand, okay, what does that mean? That means Lane, we take, 100 grand away from that 165,000. That means I have $65,240 of net to compensate me or invest back into the business. Name me a single business with less than $450 after you get your licensing and your website, right? That you can go and turn $165,000 of profit without doing anything illegal, without knowing anybody, and doing that within 5 months off $450 to turn $450 into 165 grand. Right. And I don't know how to build. So, and so in that scenario, which I've been in, that really, really amazing construction manager, I would pay him an extra $200 to review my estimates. And I would pay an Upwork engineer $150 to put it together. Right. So in the end, yeah, sure, I probably netted out about 64,000 in my startup once I did it right. Okay. Remember, iteration number 1, Lane fucks up, almost goes bankrupt. Iteration number 2, it's what we're talking about here, right? This is when I fell in love with construction. Enormous numbers, very simple math. It's just a system of systems. And so how you can benefit from this, guys, is just understanding this one thing. Builders build, talkers talk, counters count. Are you a builder or are you a talker, right? We need one of those two to start the business. Unfortunately, the counters won't get it done. That's a supporting role, right? So if you're a builder or you're a talker, meaning building is your skill set or sales is your skill set, it's just a matter of hiring the other guy. And the thing is, if you're a builder primary skill set, that you have it even easier because it's just a matter of laying out this model and hiring a commission-only sales rep. Might take you a while to find that guy, but you will find them. Car salesmen, moonlighting are a great place to start. The best sales guys in the industry I've ever pulled were off of a Porsche and Ferrari dealership because they're used to dealing with really egotistical guys talking 6-figure deals. They're comfortable talking money. And they're also comfortable talking with controlling, hyper-intelligent, well, sometimes hyper-intelligent, but controlling egos, right? So now if you're a sales skill set like me, it's just go get the business, structure it right, 40% gross, make sure your contracts have you collecting at least 51% before demo starts. And then off your recognized gross profit position, you can hire a bookkeeper, hire a construction manager, and away you go. And in the meantime, before you hire that guy full time, just pay him part-time out of the profit on your design agreements, right? To basically proof your estimates and debug your plans so that when you go to build it, it isn't a giant shit show. Game over.